So keeping all that in mind, like we don't know exactly who's going to make it, and taking out the Chiefs because you clearly don't want to play the Chiefs. Looking at some of the lower seeds, teams that could sneak in: Bengals, Bills. I'm assuming we take the Bills out too. Bengals, Colts, Patriots, Dolphins, Raiders, and Browns, and Ravens. I guess of those teams, who do you not want to play? And you can throw the Bills in there if you want. I just feel like the Bills are going to be. I mean, the Titans are tough to deal with because you don't know if they're getting Derrick Henry back. That matters a ton.
Yeah. Which, man, I would be shocked if he could come back anywhere close to what he was playing at with a Jones fracture. Like this fast for that guy with that much power. And the workload that he normally carries, like I don't know. I think the team I'd least like to play, if we're assuming that Carson Wentz is healthy, probably the Colts. And he's a part of it. And if they make them in, like it's probably the Colts with the running game. I think what they can do offensively and defensively. I mean, they seem to be like one of the more well-rounded teams. You know, I think we've started to see the true colors shine for the Patriots, where they have basically one speed, one style, and that's get turnovers on defense, run the football, and then not ask Mac to do too much.
Yep.
It's odd because it's a similar formula for the Dolphins. The difference is, you know, they can't really run the football effectively. It's more like, hey, we're going to methodically work the ball down the field. Our defense gets some turnovers, makes some great plays, shuts people down. And that's our formula, right? And if you make either one of those two teams play outside of that, they're incapable of winning. The Titans, I feel like, are in the same mode. Just the only wild card really is Derrick Henry and how that's going to work out. So I think the team I'd least like to see is probably the Colts with a healthy Carson Wentz, assuming he's their quarterback, and then probably the Bengals. Like the Bengals are the other team because sometimes like you've got that young group that doesn't know any different.
Yeah.
There's just that like hot hand who kind of goes on a run and just is out there making plays, and they're not like taken up by the moment or worried about the moment, right? Like Andy Dalton kept going to the playoffs. It's like, gosh, I can't get this monkey off my back.
Have to win this one.
Game.
We just need to break through.
It's like Buffalo Bills going to Super Bowl. It's like, oh, you're going to win one of these. Are you? I don't know. Like, so.
And then by the time you get to the third or the fourth one, you're like, oh my God, this is getting weird. We have to win this one. And Joe Burrow is just a Santa Claus hat wearing, doesn't give a bleep mother bleeper. He's Joe Cool. Like he just doesn't care. I would not want to play him in a lose, like a playoff matchup where you lose, you're out. I mean, that's terrifying the way he's dealing right now.
I think the only reason you want to play that team is because defensively, if you get pressure on Burrow, but you also have to stop Joe Mixon in the rushing attack. But if you can, defensively, it's not like they're a bunch of world beaters. So I do think you can score them. I do think you can make some plays. That's the only difference. Where I think the Colts, and I don't think this is debatable, have an overall better defense, even though I do think the Bengals are improved this year.
Yeah, they're much improved. I agree with you. I think the Colts. I mean, the Bills to me are Bills could just win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I was excluding them just because I figured with KC and them, like that's the favorites. So we don't.
Yeah, Bills, KC out, and then the Titans with you need to know about Derrick Henry before I think you can make any sort of decision about them. And Patriots, I don't want to play though either. You know, like I know they're one dimensional, or not one dimensional, but like you say, one speed. I guess it depends on who you are. I mean, if they're healthy in the run game and you aren't an elitish offense, I'm a little worried about it, but you can run on them.
Do they scare you? I mean, let's be real. Like, do they scare
you? Not as much as they did 3 weeks ago, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, if you go back to the game 3 weeks ago, really 4, right? Because they had a bye. That was more dictated based on weather. I mean, you're assuming that they're going to be a wild card team. They're not winning the division, right? Yeah. So you're assuming that they're a wild card team on the road. I don't know that team. If it's Tom Brady, yeah, you're like pinning down your leg. If it's not Tom Brady, going okay, like he's still got to earn that. And even though it's Bill Belichick, I don't know. It doesn't have the same type of feel, even though it is a Bill Belichick coach team.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, they have Mac Jones. Like they're beatable. They've been shown to be beatable in the last few weeks. I think it also 2 weeks. Yeah, I think it also depends on the matchup too. You know, like
sure. I mean, that's the other thing. It's all about matchups. Like you get to this point in time in the season, like you you look at some teams, you go, oh, that's an interesting matchup. Like I think, for example, Bengals Colts, like there'll be an interesting matchup. We're talking those two teams right now, but if you think about if those two teams played off, like the more explosive offense is Cincinnati. I mean, the Colts just want to run the football. They'll complement some things with the passing game, but with Carson Wentz in there, you just hope he doesn't mess things up. And of the better two defenses, it's Indianapolis. So they want to play this probably more run the football, shorten the game, play good defense, get some turnovers. We'll create some big plays in the passing game. Whereas the Bengals are like, give Joe Burrow the football as many times as possible and let him just take shots, do his thing. And we'll hopefully steal a possession or two, right? Like completely different style, I think. So, depending on how that game goes, either team can win based on how they match up.
Carson Wentz, by the way, Tom Pelissero just tweeted that, and Tom had reported that it's possible COVID protocols could change. We'll see about that, but he says it like all players who test positive. So Wentz actually now gets basically a 90-day window. If he's not, he's sort of the Aaron Rodgers factor, same thing. Unvaxxed, test positive. Now, once he returns from the list, if the Colts make a playoff run, he's not going to be. I mean, frankly, if you're gonna test positive, if you're Carson Wentz, you'd rather it be now than the divisional round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I honestly feel like, what was it, Rodgers, where he tested positive and all that came out. The interesting thing about that situation was he probably needed to be just a week later, because then it would have gotten to the Super Bowl. Where now I think that 90-day protection is like wears off the week before the Super Bowl. So that's the only thing, but like that would have been the perfect timing.
I think
like
Rodgers is right before Rodgers needed a week later.
It's a week before. He did it a week later. So that would have been the perfect timing. I don't think this is perfect time for Carson Wentz because they need him in there to help get in the playoffs. So exactly. I get what you're saying. Like, don't get me wrong. If they change the protocols and now it's, if he's asymptomatic and it's 5 days quarantine, and then after that, like I wonder how they're going to change the testing. Like that's the biggest thing, because at least based on the CDC guidelines, you're still 5 days regardless of what your vaccination status is. And then it's after those 5 days where they go about the symptoms and how they handle wearing masks, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Wentz needed to test positive next week. You just run Jonathan Taylor 50 times against the Jaguars or Nyheim Hines or whoever.
Yeah, exactly. Like that would be the perfect time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So for instance, like just looking at just plugging some stuff in, like if New England would be scary against if I'm the Raiders, I don't want to see New England, Yeah. Like I think that's a bad matchup for the Raiders. Cincinnati versus New England. I don't know. Anyway, let's take a break and we'll do the same thing on the other side of the bracket. So NFC wise, the Cowboys are the 2 seed, Rams are the 3 seed, Bucks are the 4 seed. Cardinals, 49ers, Eagles are the wild cards. And frankly, Brady, it looks like chalk is probably going to hold up. Like it would be surprising at this point if the Vikings, who lost to the Rams and are now 7-8, the Saints, who lost on Monday night to the Dolphins, who are now 7-8, and the Falcons, who somehow won to get to 7-8, despite having a negative 122 point differential. Any of those 3 teams making it in is possible and plausible, but pretty unlikely at this point. Like it feels like barring something crazy, the NFC wildcards are probably set.
Yeah, I think the NFC is set. It's just the seeding. Like that's what we're looking for now, right?
Yep.
I'm not really sure.
All right,
dangerous.
Well, of the top 4 teams, Green Bay, Dallas, the Rams, and Tampa Bay. I mean, that is any one of those 4 coming out wouldn't shock me. The Bucks clearly depleted with their issues. Yeah, I got crap in the YouTube chat last night for suggesting that Mike McCarthy might be conservative in the playoffs. But I don't know why. The Packers, I mean, like, I've got to imagine.
What do you mean conservative? Like, what does that mean?
I just kick on 4th and short, kick field goals, bang down field goals and lose to the Seahawks on the road because Russell Wilson pulls out a miracle and you got too conservative. I don't know. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really have much of a response to
like that. His butt might get tight. He might make a mistake. That's all.
Tighten up. Yeah. Jerry Jones is whispering over his shoulder.
You got that, Mike? You got that lemon booty?
Yeah.
I mean,
11
God dang
boo.
it, Mike. No, Jerry Jones wants you to kick field goals. He don't care. Of
He
those
does.
four,
Kick it. Kick it. That's what we have. Kick it. Kick it.
no, maybe put Kellen in charge. Dang. Oh, that was really angry, Jerry Jones. What of those four teams, who scares you the most at the top? And three of them, by the way, have clinched their division. The Rams and the 49ers are still in the dogfight.
Yeah. It's Green Bay. It's Green Bay. It's Aaron Rodgers. He's playing the best football of anyone. I think had Tom Brady, had they maintained course, I would have thought it would have been neck and neck, and maybe Brady edges out Rodgers purely because of the whole COVID deal and just how the media tends to handle that stuff. But now it's going to be, I think, back-to-back MVPs for Rodgers, and you can't deny it with as good as he's played this year. So they're the scariest team because of him. Like, there's no situation in which you feel safe ever playing against him. I mean, think about Baltimore a couple weeks ago. Like, we're like, oh, yeah, no, like, you 100% can make a case for why Harbaugh goes for it because, I mean, not just the whole backup quarterback situation. It's like, no, it's Aaron Rodgers, just 42 seconds. Like, you have to go try to force, like, one way or another, they're probably going to have a chance that he's probably going to go out and kind of field goal and win it. So,
yes, agreed.